Welcome to PyanGo's Fund Accounting application. Fund Accounting is available as a NetSuite Suite App bundle that can be installed in your account. It provides self-balancing accounting entries for standard NetSuite transactions. When NetSuite posts to the general ledger, it will create journal entries or GL impacts that balance only at the company or subsidiary level. Many nonprofits need to balance upon additional segments, typically for funds. So as you can see in this example, the transaction is unbalanced with respect to the fund. What PyanGo provides is additional GL entries that allow for a proper calculation of net assets by fund and balance sheets by fund. This video covers the in-depth setup for fund accounting. This application is highly configurable. Each transaction can have specific rules on when and how to generate a journal line. It supports custom segments and can balance by multiple segments. The due to from accounts from which show the balancing results can be defined at either system or natural GL account level. We will go through each of these steps next. Let's start with transaction rules. Search for journal rules. Standard rules are delivered in the bundle for supported transaction. If a transaction is not to be used, the rule can be inactivated, for example by clicking on the inactivate button or checkbox in the grid list. Another key setting is whether self-balancing entries should be generated if the transaction is natively self-balanced. So if you notice here, we have several of these: the vendor bill, bill credit, and payment, which will do a check for self-balancing as well as journal. There is a small performance impact for checking this box, but it reduces the number of overall GL entries that are posted to the general ledger. Work with PyanGo consultants for modifying any other rule definitions. The Suite GL architecture supports unlimited custom segments which provide additional analysis dimensions. In some cases, you may want to balance by these custom segments. The segment internal IDs need to be defined by PyanGo Fund Accounting. Navigate to Customization, List Records, and List. Locate the PFA list of custom segments, which is highlighted here, and click on the entry, and there will be a list of custom segments, and you just need to specify the internal ID of that particular segment. Note that not all custom segments used in the account have to be listed, only the ones needed for balancing purposes. As mentioned earlier, PFA can check to see if a transaction is already balanced. Switch to Setup, Company, and General Preferences. Scroll down until you find the Custom Preferences tab and the section for PyanGo Fund Accounting. Then identify the balancing segments separated by commas. Notice in this case we're balancing by the native dimension called class, but this can include multiple dimensions and custom segments as needed. Now we move on to configuring the Suite GL plugin. This plugin script will generate the journal entries needed for balancing. The plugin is delivered with the bundle. Navigate to Customization, Plugins, Plugin Implementations. Click on View to review the plugin definition, and then click on the Configure button. This configuration steps enables the plugin to work with specific transactions as well as subsidiaries. So verify that all the transactions that are needed in the target account are checked. This is a multi-select field, so you have to hold the Control key down while selecting. as well as check the box for all subsidiaries. It is possible to configure to run for specific subsidiaries. Again, work with PyanGo consultants to complete this setup. The last step with regards to the plugin is we have to turn it on. So navigate to Customization, Plugin, Manage Plugins. Then check the box next to the PyanGo Fund Accounting plugin listing and save this particular form. The plugin runs with a specific security role. This is also delivered with the bundle. You may need to modify the role to include all subsidiaries. Navigate to Setup, Users and Roles, and Manage Roles. Then edit the PFA SuiteGL role, and be sure to select all of the subsidiaries that are active for this particular company. Note that in the mid-market edition of NetSuite, subsidiaries do not exist, and so this step is not required. We also need to update the custom segment to have the proper security setting. So navigate to Customization, List Records, and Custom Segments. Pick the particular segment to edit, and then click on the Permissions tab, and below that make sure that the default access level is Edit and the default search level is Edit for any custom segment that needs to be involved in fund accounting. This next step is key to configuration for correct accounting purposes. Let's go back to Company Preferences, and there are 3 account settings defined at the company preference level. The intercompany due from account should be defined as an asset account. The interfund due to account should be defined as a liability account, and the due cash account would be defined as a bank or cash account. If you want more control over which accounts to use on transactions, we can support multiple due to froms based upon the actual account involved in a particular transaction. So if we look at the account definition, in this example it's a savings account or a cash account, we can specify unique due to from accounts for each separate cash account to track all the required ins and outs for that particular account activity. The specification of this level of control should be driven by the chief accountant on how they want to look at self-balancing entries. Prior to going live, there are a couple of scripts that should be activated and scheduled. The main one is the journal entry scheduled script. It should be turned on and scheduled on a regular basis. This script processes journal entries that are too large for the SuiteGL plugin, approximately 1,000 lines. Finally, let's verify the results. Create a transaction such as vendor bill, and then view the GL impact. You will see entries that are standard, which are listed at the top, and then additional entries which come from PyanGo Fund Accounting. And the memo field has been specified to indicate that they're being generated by Fund Accounting. In this particular example, you will see that we have a header value of $6,000 without any particular fund, but then we have line items that are expenses with different funds being used. PyanGo will relieve the liability here and back that entry out, but then reapply the proper GL entry with the detailed funds at the transaction level and transaction amounts. Thanks for watching this video on configuring PyanGo Fund Accounting with SuiteGL support. And remember, PyanGo helps smart organizations change the world.